All right, we're going to model this painter's tripod, which is a little triangle type device that you put something that you're painting or finishing, let's say a woodworking project, and you're going to set it upon these tripods so that you can not wreck the finish that you've just applied to your project. So that's what they are. That's what we're going to model, and we're going to primarily focus on the LOFT tool to complete this task. So you can see what the model ends up looking like here. You can see that shelled inside, that it's hollow, so that when we do 3D print it, or if you did 3D print it, or make this particular object, you're not using a whole lot of material, minimal material. Same with the holes. Again, that's going to make it easier to 3D print. And again, use a lot less filament, but still be structurally sound. So let's start a new design, and I'll show you how to complete this. So the new design over here, I'll get in the habit of saving it, call it tripod, and we're going to create a new component, call that tripod as well, even though we're just making one component for this particular model. Shows up on my project browser. And we'll start with the top-down view. And looking at my drawing here, this is an equilateral triangle with 60-degree angles and a length of 97.97 millimeters along each edge. So I'm going to start with that triangle. So I'm going to go to line, tool, anchor it on the origin point, and my length is going to be 97.97. If I press tab, I'm going to change the angle to 60, and I'll create another line off that endpoint, 97.97, 60, and then I'm just going to connect those two lines, and you can see that the whole sketch is fully constrained. So I'm going to go finish the sketch and look at it from isometric view. Alright, so obviously I want this to be a type of pyramid shape, so I want the extrusion to come up and meet at a center point. And to accomplish that, I'm going to use the LOFT tool, but first I got to provide a geometry, a profile, that this profile is going to end up projecting to or lofting to. So I want to, if I take a look at my drawing, you can see that the point is going to be 85.09 millimeters above my base. But if I look closely, that's to the center point of this radius here. So I actually got to add the radius, 1.5, to my overall dimension. So that's going to make that 86.59, 86.59 above. So I need to draw a point 86.59 millimeters above this profile here. So to do that, I need a plane, a construction plane to actually draw on. And that can be found over in this construct area here. If I click on the drop down, there's various different methods of producing a new work plane. And we're going to use the offset plane for this, and we're going to offset a plane from my existing profile, which is going to be 86.59 millimeters above the existing triangle. Okay, so I'm going to go to new sketch. I'm going to use that new construction plane, and you can see it orthographically orthographically views that new construction plane. Now it gets a little bit deceptive, as obviously my triangle comes into focus here, but I'm actually drawing, whatever I draw is going to be that 86.59 millimeters above. So first of all, I'm going to go to line. I'm going to draw some construction lines to identify the center of this triangle, and to do that, I'm going to go from center of each line to the opposite point making sure that that triangle glyph shows up to represent the midpoint. So where those lines intersect represent the center of the triangle. So if I orbit over, you can see that I've actually created those lines, again, offset from my existing profile. And I need to insert a point here where those lines intersect. And to do that, I'm going to go to Create. And there is my point tool right there. So I'm going to put a point there. And I'm going to finish my sketch. Okay, so this is where Loft comes in. And so under Create, after Extrude, Revolve, Sweep comes Loft. I'm going to click on that. And what Loft is looking for is 2 or more profiles that are going to be that are going to connect. So I'm going to click this profile here, and it's going to connect up to the point that I've identified in the circle there, or in the middle of that triangle. So here I have my pyramid shape. And now, like, if I would have drawn a circle up there or a square or whatever, it would have projected up to that particular, whatever that profile happened to be. So I'm going to press OK. So that's the geometry I'm looking for. And if I go back to my drawing, I can see that it's been hollowed out or shelled out. So I'm going to use my shell command under Modify and click on the bottom there, and the thickness of my walls is going to be 2.63. So I want to identify that 2.63, and it's going to shell it out from the bottom and provide a thickness of 2.63 to all of the walls. Now the next thing I got to do is add the circles. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the angle of that pyramid there, and I'm going to use my construction line from the midpoint. I'm going to go 30 up to locate the center of the hole, turn off my construction lines, and create a whole circle there with a diameter of 25. Finish your sketch. We'll do the same thing on each side of this pyramid. Okay, so I have all my circles identified there, and I'm going to go finish the sketch, and now I'm going to extrude those into the object to leave me with a hole. So I'll go to the extrude command, and instead of putting in a distance, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the extent type from distance to object. I'm going to click on the inside wall. And I'll do the same thing here. And same thing on this one. Okay. Now the reason I want to do the extent type to the inside wall here instead of a distance is, let's say I'm not happy with the thickness of the walls of this tripod. I can actually go back to my shell and edit feature and change it to, let's say, 5 millimeters. And now after it's updated, you can see that the thickness has changed. I still have my holes there, and if I were to have left it at distance and only gone like 3 millimeters or something like that, surely I would have had a hole there with the 2.63 millimeter thickness walls, but it wouldn't have updated. I wouldn't have my hole all the way through if I would have updated it to 5 millimeters. It would have stayed at that 2.63 or 3 millimeter hole. So this allows it to update if I do happen to change the thickness of my walls. So I'm going to change it back. So inside thickness to 2.63. And there's updated again, still in my holes. And the last thing I got to do with this tripod is provide a fillet. I'm going to click the 3 edges here, and it has a fillet of 1.5 millimeters. And there we have it, our painter's tripod.